Thursday lunchtime continues to the Zondo Commission now. An auditor who signed off on the financials of South African Airways for several years, up to 2017, is in the state capture inquiry hot seat today. Pricewaterhouse Coopers audit partner Pule Mothibe is facing questions around how it was that PwC gave SAA a clean bill of health when its finances were actually in disarray. Let's make some sense of that. Reporter Michael Appel is in the newsroom. So let's start off, Michael, with the evidence leader beginning the inquiry about reference and talking about the importance, the critical role of auditors.
That's right, Jeremy. They are supposed to be the gatekeepers. They're supposed to be those who ensure that money that is spent or flows through state-owned entities, taxpayer money essentially, that it is spent properly, that it can be accounted for, that there are receipts for things, that tenders that are entered into are done so legally and in compliance with the Public Finance Management Act, the PFMA. So the bulk of the testimony that she is leading the witness through, this is evidence leader advocate Kate Hofmeyer, is seeking to establish whether PwC, a multinational audit firm, did rigorous audit and did so according to rigorous audit standards. And on the face of it, it would appear not so. Here's what the advocate had to say.
We submit that in the end, the Commission will need to determine whether any state capture, corruption or fraud that it finds to have taken place in the public sector was in any way facilitated by the auditors of state-owned enterprises. If it was, then the next question will be whether that facilitation was due to mere negligence, auditors simply not doing their jobs as they were supposed to, or something more sinister than that. Chair, we submit that even if it is only the former, even if state capture, corruption and fraud was not picked up by auditors of state-owned enterprises because of nothing more than their mere negligence, it is still important to expose that.
Which, Michael Appel, then begs the question, I suppose, if things were not adding up from an audit perspective, what does that mean? What does that amount to?
Well, as she says, was this pure negligence, or was PwC and its audit partners in Nkonki Incorporated just, complicit in what was going on because they were receiving something undue? Now, speaking of something irregular, the appointment of PwC and Nkonki for a period of 5 years itself was irregular expenditure amounting to 70 million rand by SAA, because SAA had went out on tender to procure audit services for a period of 1 year in 2011 for the 2012 financial year. And that tender with PwC and Nkonki was rolled over without it going to tender for a period of 5 years. Those years amount to irregular expenditure, which was also not disclosed in the audit outcomes in the final audit reports. So there were several instances where deviations by the SAA, tender procurement, money that was spent that couldn't be accounted for, that those were picked up by auditors. It was raised with management, says Mr. Mothibe, but nothing was done, and it also wasn't included in the final audit report. What does that amount to? Misrepresentation, essentially lying to the public. Here's the advocate.
It is then misleading to the public, is it not, to sign an audit report which says that there has been compliance. We do not identify any instances of material non-compliance with applicable laws and regulations. Do you accept that?
Chair, after we've completed our work, when we put our audit opinion together, we considered all the evidence that had been provided for audit purposes and applied judgment on some of these issues of non-compliance and other matters, in fact, Chair, in the audit as a whole.
Pule Mothibe is an audit partner at Pricewaterhouse Coopers. Michael Appel back with us later in the afternoon as we continue our coverage of the Zondo Commission.